So the astrology of the week 18 January 2021 to 24 January 2021 is a powerful week. There's a lot of energy this week with a waxing moon, experiencing some real highs and some real lows. It's a week when Jupiter and Mars will square off for a big charge of energy. And it's a week when the sun will join the 3 planets already in Aquarius to add another planet to this epic Aquarius pileup that we're getting ready to experience. All right, I'm glad you're here, glad to see you, glad to be here, glad to be doing another weekly astrology. We have 7 days according to the 7 traditional planets, so it's very much embedded in our reality, the 7 traditional planets. And this practice is getting into the rhythm of that, riding the rhythms of the planetary days. So the other thing I want to mention before I dive in is that I am a part of a team of astrologers through astrologer Stormy Grace's channel. She's doing a Kickstarter campaign to do a year of free astrology education for the whole world through her YouTube channel. So I'm going to link that in the description. But you might want to check out that Kickstarter. If you can throw any support her way, it would benefit all of us bringing astrology to the world. Even a few dollars would help her reach that goal. But if that project funds, then we're going to be teaching all through 2021, free courses fully available on YouTube. The teachers are excellent. I'm very honored to be considered amongst that group. Some of the best astrologers and most esteemed astrologers on YouTube and really in the world. So check that out. If we start here on Monday, we've got in the evening in Central Europe, the moon will be entering Aries. And the thing about this Aries moon is quite special. So this Aries moon completes a sextile with Jupiter in Aquarius about, I think, around 9 to 10 in the evening on Monday in Central Europe. And then it's applying immediately to a square to Venus in Capricorn. And so it's this special condition that I always track with the moon is when is the moon enclosed between the benefics, the rays of the benefics. And this is it. We have it this week here. And I always love to check in with the lunar mansion. This is the first lunar mansion. The lunar mansion system in the Western tropical astrological tradition starts here right at 0 Aries, just like the whole zodiac. It's about beginning, it's about initiation, and it's about energy. And the moon has just been new, it was just seated with the sun's light in Capricorn, and now it's growing. And so it's this kind of doubling up of starting and initiative. The holidays are over, people are getting back into the business of this year. Some of the jobs out there I think are more easily or are more conducive to kind of initiation of business, but look for that in your life. I mean, what can you start digging into, getting into the weeds with, and putting some elbow grease towards when you have this lovely enclosed moon here in Aries. You have Mars and Venus in these earth signs in this mutual reception ruling the moon, that the moon can really be about some of the earth side of things. Doing gardening right now, or cooking, or in your business you're thinking about the resources that you might have available, or even the structure of your business. I think that's very earth energy. How is it structured? Even if it's digital, what's the home of your business? What's your website? And if you have a job, what's your home at your office? Are you working in a cubicle? Is that organized? This is the kind of new beginning that I think we can seed during this lovely enclosed moon, and it ends about 11 in Central Europe here in the morning, about 11 a.m. The moon will complete that square with Venus. So this moon is being overcome. It's enclosed between the benefics, but by the benefics being in the sweetest position that they can be in, which is earlier in zodiacal order, flooding that planet with wonderful energy, in this case the moon. It's a very sweet energy. It's my candidate for best energy of the week. It happens right out of the gate. And when you think about Venus and Jupiter might be optimism, excitement, even risk-taking, putting a lot of energy, expanding and growing something, whereas Venus is kind of indulgent and can be the feel-good planet. One way to do this is to do visioning. And you can maybe use this moon as you're acting here, thinking about how good it feels in the moment just to be alive, to be cognizant, to be deliberate with your choices. That's a special thing. Not everybody has that. The pleasure of that, the pleasure of sentience, using our sentience, putting our attention and energy behind a course of action. Think big with your vision. You're so powerful as a human being, so think big and feel the pleasure of that. I can move mountains if I want. Maybe that's a little too big. I think I tend to go there. I tend to just take Jupiter and just go and run with it. But you can do so much. I think the risk is that we underestimate our abilities and potential. Then here on Tuesday in the evening, it's about 10 in Central Europe, 10 p.m., 9 p.m., something like that, the sun comes to Aquarius. The sun finally enters Aquarius, and this is Aquarius season. You know, the thing I love about Aquarius season, it's the middle of the winter. It's the fixed winter energy if you're in the northern hemisphere. I love when we hit Aquarius season, it means we're closer to Pisces and Aries season. So that's kind of why I like it, because we're moving forward. When the sun rules Leo, it's like we have this fixed identity, which can be so useful to have a healthy ego that we construct of who we are and what we're doing in the world. And then from that fixed identity, we move into the world from a position of strength. Well, here in Aquarius, that our sense of self is maybe dislodged. Very apropos for the moment we're in, when the decisions of the collective and of the leadership of the collective and those with power in the collective, those decisions are so impactful right now. So people aren't able to do in 2021 here in winter things that they might have done in winter 2020 or winter 2019. So this identity, our egos that we've constructed, are being reformed. And this is a real period of the new Aquarian energy. We're still just in it now and figuring it out. And so with the sun here, my fixed sense of who I am is now dislodged. So hang on, because wait until March and April and May. I think we're gonna settle in and start being able to reconstruct an identity that jibes and that is coherent and flowing with the new reality that we're all in. And the sun, remember, enters Aries March 20th and it's exalted there. So we're kind of building, and this is a cycle every year. It's healthy to let your ego get shaken up, because then it can be reborn in a healthier, in a more useful and constructive way through the lessons that we've had to learn and through filtering through the collective. No man is an island. Very few men are islands or women. You know, we're interactive, we're a group of people. And so it's nice to have to take on and reconsider our sense of identity against the others that we are living with. That's the opportunity of Aquarius season, and it's winter. So often in winter, you have to rely on others. There's an interdependence that's required to survive the harsh conditions. Aquarius has 3 triplicity rulers: Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury. They're all in Aquarius right now. When the sun gets there, the sun will be with the 3 rulers of Aquarius by triplicity and the domicile ruler Saturn. It's a really nice mitigation for the sun. Sometimes the modern astrologers will say Aquarius is that oddball or that strange energy. They say things like unconventional, and I think it fits with the sun. This is like the one transit where I think unconventional actually fits, because the sun is in exile here, so it has to change the conventions that it's used to in order to survive the Aquarian transit. So yeah, get a little unconventional. You know, we're in a time when, like money generation, people are having to do new things and change the way they communicate with the world and be more reliant on the digital space, be more reliant on apps. I mean, I just saw an ad for a grocery store. You know, they're advertising touchless ordering. A lot is changing in terms of the society and the collective. So I would encourage you to step into new things, try new things, get out of your comfort zone right now. And that's what's so beautiful about it, because how often do we get out of our comfort zone? Most of the time we'll just stay in a safe place, and then we never take a risk, right? We just stay comfortable. Bring our awareness to the new conventions. That's, remember, the sun is the awareness. So look for that this week and this 30-day period with the sun in Aquarius. And then the final thing here, Mars will be in Taurus the whole of this Aquarian transit. It's gonna add some tension. I think it will make it difficult. It may feel like you're resistant at, you know, physically, just, I don't wanna do that. No, I wanna stay comfortable. So just be aware that tension might be something you have to work through. Who I think I am, setting that aside and trying to get into what is also fixed around you, because Aquarius is a fixed sign. You know, if I just take off my glasses, the idea that sometimes we need a new perception, a new perceiver. We've all seen that great movie, They Live, right? He puts on the glasses and can see everything. He sees the real structure of society. When he puts these glasses on, he can see the kind of embedded, deep-rooted system of control. Sometimes we have to get out of what we think is real by doing new things, saying yes to new experiences, to really get in and explore the real structure that is operative. Maybe try a new website. Let me suggest that to you. I think that would be good to kind of embrace this unconventional energy. Find a new writer. Maybe there's something new that you'll be taught about reality and the structure of reality. Non-conventional compared to what came before. So use that this week. Use this Aquarian inventive inquisitiveness. It's a real special opportunity. The 3 triplicity rulers with the sun. Okay, we're moving on now. Thursday, next big transit I want to talk about, 7 in the morning roughly here, Central Europe. Time when the moon has now come to Taurus and now has to apply to Mars and then square Saturn. So at 4 a.m. on Thursday, the moon will be squaring Saturn, and then at about 10 a.m., so for about a 6-hour period here, but at 10 a.m. the moon perfects the conjunction with Mars. This could be a very difficult time. For me, it'll be in the morning, and I think when the moon is dislodged like this, sleep problems, not being comfortable in the body, feeling off, feeling maybe even triggered emotionally because of the Mars energy, maybe anger or rage that keeps one up, or anxiety. I just always like to point these transits out because it can explain things, and I know that it will be over quite soon. And I feel this stuff very palpably. And the thing here in Taurus, this lunar mansion, it's really about relationships. So I'm thinking with this moon being in the Venus ruled Taurus, maybe our relationship energy is discombobulated. Maybe if you're disagreeing with people, you want to step aside until after 10 a.m. in Central Europe to just not have to deal with a conflict and deal with this energy, maybe exacerbating it. This might be a time to just do your own thing. Or just be circumspect and, be that supportive person in the background. The thing is, this is right after the inauguration in America, so that happens at noon on Wednesday. This transit for Americans will be Wednesday evening into Thursday. Here in Europe, it's just all Thursday morning. We hope that goes smooth. I do. I've seen these images of the soldiers there in Washington. So this is a Mars, a moon applying to Mars and squaring Saturn around that time or after it. Let's just hope that goes smooth. I have a sense it will. Saturn is playing first fiddle here, being earlier than everybody in Aquarius and being the ruler of Aquarius. It's so powerful. It's kind of flooding the moon and Mars here, really clamping them down. So now let's move. So Saturday, 8 a.m. in Central Europe, very early, Mars and Jupiter square. They perfect that square. Mars in Taurus, Jupiter in Aquarius, and they're squaring each other off. This can be an explosive aspect. It's a lot of energy. Sometimes I mean literally explosive. The first two passes of this square, this cycle, the very first one, there was a massive series of explosions all over the globe at the same time. And they were unrelated, but it was just an explosive expression of this energy. I'm not sure what it'll be about collectively. I don't really want to make a prediction on that. But I do think that it's a time for a lot of energy personally. Anytime Jupiter is squaring something, especially when it's earlier in zodiacal order, Jupiter can provide an opportunity to expand, to have energy, to have zealousness, to get excited. And Mars is the planet of action. So I believe that it's like a doubling up of action here. What are you fighting for? What do you feel is moral and ethical that you need to speak on or feel passionate about? And what actions can you take related to that? Mars being in Taurus, maybe this is artistic or some kind of creative outlet or even painting or writing. Maybe it is gardening. Mars is tools. Taurus is an earth sign. It's in that garden environment. So maybe you get into the weeds and just get dirty on the land. Connect with your morals and your sense of what's right and wrong. Jupiter can be justice, truth, knowledge, wisdom, and with that Mars energy, it can be how we act on that. And there's a lot of fuel with this to fight for what you love. Just be aware, I think the risk with here was just we get too over exuberant. We get too maybe fanatical, and that's an art, knowing how to engage with energy, but at the same time be respectful. But ultimately, I think it's auspicious. Anytime I see a Jupiter square, I like that, and I think the ancient texts support that. It's really not to be delineated as an extreme difficulty like a square for Mars. If Mars was in earlier position, I would be much more concerned about it. Mars is subdued in Taurus. Mars is exiled in Taurus. All of that passive energy that Mars really doesn't prefer. Think here about how Jupiter can kind of spark the Mars. It's a very mitigating transit, because Jupiter brings fire. Jupiter is an expansive fire energy. Remember, rules Sagittarius. It's a day-sect planet. Jupiter's almost injecting Mars with a little bit of what it likes naturally here to help wake it up in Taurus, giving it that, that push, that shake a little bit. Wake up, Mars, wake up. This Venus trine is also very, very lovely. And I've talked about this in recent videos, but Mars is ruled by Venus and Venus is ruled by Mars because Mars is exalted in Capricorn. So there's this lovely mutual exchange with Venus and Mars. At the same time, Jupiter comes in to give it an injection. It could be good for steady, committed love. It could be good for more of the vanilla style love, where it's just a day in and day out partnership that you work together, you high-five each other on the hallway in the morning, on the way to work, come home and maybe watch a movie, or just those relationships that are quotidian and regularized. This is the kind of love that's so important for love. That's how we really can show our love for people, is did we show up day in and day out? I think this is a lovely time for that as well. So maybe you're defending that space. Maybe you're bringing this Jupiter in to kind of feel and acknowledge how powerful the committed partnership can be, even in the more simplistic side of how we relate with each other. Being uncomfortable where Mars may be uncomfortable here in Taurus, but staying with it, keeping with something when we're experiencing discomfort in the short term. Mars leaves Taurus in early March, I think March 4th, so it's going to be over, but sticking it out. And that's the fixed Taurus. It's a fixity, it's a staying with energy, and Mars is here. Maybe there's something you can just stick out, your commitments, honor those commitments. Look for that. Look for sticking with a project, maybe around your home, sticking with a difficult relationship. This may be some difficulties in a situation, and it's time to show up and talk, staying with the process of how we heal and how we come together. There's great seasons in relationships, and sometimes they're difficult. So this might be a time where the Jupiter comes in, maybe a truth is expressed. Someone says, hey, this is how I've been feeling, and then that other person has to respond, and there's some difficulty, but staying with it, showing up and giving Jupiter power to work and tell its truth, and then feeling the discomfort can all be very, very beautiful things once the other side is reached, right? The water is wide, I can't cross over. Well, you can. Just get on that raft and move forward. You can cross it, and there is another side. It's a great thing about astrology. We know when the transit's going to end. Mars will leave Taurus, then we get that Gemini Mars, a whole different wild energy. That's how I see this really lovely moment, actually, with the Mars, Venus mutual reception, where that Jupiter is perfecting an overcoming square to Mars from Aquarius. So Sunday, we get the Saturn-sun conjunction. It happens early in the sun's transit in Aquarius because Saturn is in those early degrees. And this is pretty cool. This is kind of sweet to have, for the sun actually, to have your ruler with you while you're in exile. Theoretically and in the abstract, it sounds quite nice to have like a translator with you. You think about that, having that translator holding your hand and showing you the ropes. That's what Saturn is doing here for the sun. And so the sun will give over and rely on Saturn being right here, very, very strong in these early degrees. This conjunction happens in Mercury's term. So there's a mercurial flavor. Mercury is co-present in Aquarius, so there's communication with Mercury. And Jupiter's there adding the great abundance and wisdom that Jupiter can bring. So I love this transit actually for the sun, and I love this conjunction. It might sound strange. People are probably, well, Saturn is dark and depressing and sad. Well, it's a sad time. And I think that we need to incorporate the grief of the energy of 2021 into the new identities that we're constructing. We have to acknowledge how painful it has been to live in 2020 and to see the society collapse effectively and the whole world collapse. I'm still in shock about it. I was just thinking today, the borders are closed everywhere. I mean, the world shut down. I can't believe it. So it's quite a shock when you take a step back and realize like just how Saturnine this reality has been, because Saturn implies isolation and actually being closed off. And that's how the whole world is right now. Save for a few countries, it's completely shut off from itself. I'm trying to contemplate and accept, acknowledge it on deeper levels, because we have to. I'm gonna have to, as I move into the rest of this year, working within those constraints. I think with this transit, there could be a slow down of the thought process, a deliberate consideration of all the options. I know when I edit sometimes, like these talks, I really have to build the talk, and then I like to edit as much as I can because there's often little details that are missed. Oh wow, Mars and Venus are actually mutually receiving each other. That's hugely important, and that editing and that slow, deliberate thinking is what allows that kind of epiphany or that kind of connection to be made. So that's another thing this transit is very, very good for, is slowing down the thinking and just being thorough. The other thing I'm thinking about here is that the relationship with authorities might be clarified during this transit, because this is the individual, the sun. Saturn is the structure or the authority, and the structures the authority builds to keep the society, hemmed in or fixed. Societies have to have rules to function. That's the Saturn. I was thinking it's like the turn yourself in transit, where we have to sort of surrender over to these structures in a way. Just accepting the structure, figuring out how you want to interact with it. And there's pain that comes with that, like I've already talked about. So don't sleep on the grief. And I've been talking about grief a lot because this is a time of grief. I feel like this winter is a hugely grief-based season. Grief is a mystery. It's a long journey. It's circuitous. It is circular sometimes. There's doubling and tripling back. And I don't think this collective trauma that we've gone through in 2020 and 2021, I don't think we're anywhere near being over the grief and healing and processing. So I'll be talking about grief probably often. And that was Sunday at about 4 a.m. where that Saturn-sun perfects. So that's weekly astrology. Let's get into the tarot. Yeah, it's always good to have the cards. I was actually reading today about into some old decks. I like finding online where there's older decks, like Tarot Marseille decks, and the cards are pretty ancient. I mean, they go back to, the Chinese, I think, maybe made them, and trade routes with the Silk Road. The cards ended up coming into Europe. There's different theories, but they've been around and with us for a long time. So I feel it when I'm shuffling and with these symbols that, let's say 800 years of symbols built upon symbols of card workers, cartomancers, card players, changing them, making decks, new constructions, building off of each other. So there's sort of a collective wisdom within the occult tradition that's locked in a deck of playing cards, or even, and in a tarot deck even more so. Deliberately putting occultism into the cards with the tarot. All right, first card, King, Fire King, the Lizard King. If you look at the Rider-Waite-Smith, the King of Wands has that little lizard. You think of Jim Morrison here, he's called himself the Lizard King. But this is a great Fire King energy, Aries. And in this first position, I'm going back to the Aries moon transit, how cool of an opportunity that is, Monday into Tuesday. Moon enclosed between the benefics in that first and a little bit into that second lunar mansion. Both those lunar mansions signify, movement, initiative, power, force. So don't sleep on that opportunity. And again, remember, Mars isn't really that strong at all, but that mutual reception with Venus, it gives a whole earth tonality of how we can use that moon in Aries. So think about those relationships, the gardening, the earth energy around your home, food. Remember, like I said, your desk, that space. Spaces and places we inhabit. How can we bring initiative and movement and change into those spaces? I think that's really what it's saying. And kings, what are kings? They control a domain. This is the person that has the last call, the final say. And I wouldn't sleep on your own ability to be king of your own environment. I mean, we all are interfacing with others, so there are limits to our power in a certain way. But even then, like in this moment, I can choose to stand up, I can turn the camera off, I can go make some tea, I can leave and go for a long walk. I mean, there's infinite amount of things I can choose to do right now. I have a domain and I have control over that domain. And I feel like it's healthy to consider that and think about that from time to time, especially when it's tough. Especially when it's like, oh, I don't like this. Well, you're a king. You can issue a new edict. So that's how I'm reading this this Fire King energy. And I also think it's particularly important in a week when the sun goes into Aquarius and loses its comfort in a kind of in a significant way, in a tangible way. This is Aries. This corresponds to Aries. So we're thinking about that solar power that's coming in March. There's a connection here to that. And so, knowing that exists and will be arriving might help us get through this potentially destabilizing time for our solar selves and our solar energy. Okay, let's get the second card. Yeah, but it's good. I think I'm excited to kind of let go of who I am, who I think I am. Always healthy to do that. And especially when the sun might not have the strength in the sky. It's all about Saturn right now. Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter, Aquarius, and it's building to that new moon in early February. So I think we're all going to have to let go a little bit of our old selves and really brace for this kind of hard injection of Aquarius. Okay, so let's get that second card. This one is, okay, nice, the Fool energy. And we'll go here, the Fool energy. Always good to see Lamont, the Fool. And yeah, I think this fits very, 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 very well with what I had just said there right before I pulled the card. So often that happens with these videos. I'm talking about something in between the card pulls, and the next card it's almost like I've said what I would say about the card. But you know, this is that clean slate, that sense of the unknown, that openness that I was talking about earlier with the non-conventional side of Aquarius, and how the sun in exile there requires us to let go of our fixed selves, who we thought we were before that time, the conventions of our, you know, self-assessment. Those conventions need to come off, and we need to be open to new ways we can think about the identity and how it can integrate. You know, and specifically in this time, you know, the digitization of reality, the digitization of the community, of the business activity. It's a big part, I think, of what this next period will be about. So that's one way to go with it, and just whatever's happening in your life. You know, you might want to look to where Aquarius is in your chart. How can you be like a fool for that house topic? You know, just walk in with the real stripped down, and then be willing and saying, all right, build me back up, you know, and life will do that. Life will teach you, life will show you. There'll be books, there'll be people, there'll be wise teachers on the path that will give you the new clothes, the new tools, you know, the new pair of glasses that's going to get you into this next phase successfully, rebuilt and reconfigured, so that you are better prepared to meet this new world we're entering into, which is really exciting. I mean, life, I believe that the gods aren't going to abandon us. I mean, there's always that inner fire, that king. And so we're just figuring out how to best exploit it, or best represent it, as we get into this new era and this new phase. Okay, that's the tarot reading. Really glad you're here. Thank you for being here. And as always, you can book astrology and tarot readings with me, sjanderson144.com. Click here to schedule a reading right at the top. I look forward to reading for you, and have a lovely, lovely, lovely week. I wish you all the best this week. Feel these kind of ups and downs and enjoy the highs. Okay, thanks. We'll talk soon. We'll talk later.